Impossible! 20 shots, not a single hit! Corporal Madison Brooks slammed her fist into the ground. On Whiskey Jack's firing range, wind flags whipped in 3 different directions, confounding even the most advanced electronic scopes. Amid the tense atmosphere, a petite woman, hands still reeking of bleach, spoke up, heat rising from the rocks. The canyon's creating a funnel effect. You're all shooting wrong. Laughter and mockery erupted. Who would listen to a janitor? Yet, minutes later, her shot cut through the chaos, ringing the steel target. And with each pull of the trigger, the truth slowly emerged. This unassuming woman was once a shooter who forced the CIA to write classified reports. The sun bore down on Whiskey Jack like an invisible torturer. The air shimmered over the sand, swallowing the sky in warped mirrors. The sharp crack of rifles reverberated off barren cliffs, but as each echo faded, a cold truth remained. The steel target stood untouched, not a single bullet mark. On the firing range, 5 figures lay in sniper positions. Each was the product of years of training, once called the eyes of the Marines. Rifles worth 50 grand stretched across the sand. Fitted with cutting-edge optics and electronic wind gauges, every piece of technology staked on precision shots. Yet every bullet vanished into the void. Sergeant Jake Harrison stood behind them, his face red under the sun, teeth grinding so hard the veins in his neck bulged. This hulking man, who'd survived bullet storms in Ramadi, now watched helplessly as his sniper team missed again and again. His voice broke like bent steel. 20 shots, 20 misses, you think this is a game? Desert dust swirled after each errant bullet, leaving faint trails in the distance. Corporal Madison Brooks, blonde hair tied high, clenched her teeth and lowered her rifle, slamming her fist into the ground, kicking up a cloud of dust. Once hailed as the top female shooter in her training class, her confidence shattered today against the chaotic winds. The wind gauge shows 3 different readings, she muttered, voice hoarse. There's no way to adjust for it. Harrison didn't respond. He knew technical excuses were just that, excuses. The team wasn't being defeated by the wind, but by the panic creeping in. When a sniper doubts their own eyes, each shot becomes self-punishment. Farther off, in the shade of the temporary latrines, a woman knelt, scrubbing concrete floors. Her rubber gloves were torn, her mop worn thin. Her gray t-shirt clung with sweat and cleaning chemicals. None of the snipers noticed her. They saw her as a moving shadow, part of the base's invisible infrastructure. But her green eyes, lifting from the soapy streaks, tracked the wind flags on the range. Rachel Walker, 38. Her name existed only in the base's civilian personnel files. Janitor. But a decade ago, those eyes had peered through scopes in places maps never admitted operations took place. Another shot rang out, another miss. Lance Morrison, the Texan shooter, slammed his rifle butt into the sand, cursing under his breath. Tyler Ross, the youngest, sweat-soaked, fumbled with his bipod, adjusting it uselessly. They were all spiraling into failure. Harrison stepped forward, boots crunching on the sand. He knelt beside Marcus Webb, built like a linebacker. Your hands are too tense, Harrison growled. You're choking the rifle instead of letting it breathe. Webb stayed silent, eyes burning with anger but unable to argue. Rachel kept scrubbing, but with each turn of the mop, her eyes flicked to the range. Winds rose from the rocks at 1,000 yards. A canyon created a suction effect. The flag at the target swayed opposite. 3 layers of wind, overlapping. It was all clear to someone who'd spent a lifetime reading them. She took a deep breath. She wanted to stay silent, to remain invisible. But each missed shot, each frustrated hiss, tightened her chest. An old instinct, one she thought buried, stirred awake. At the firing line, Harrison yanked the rifle from Ross's hands, shouting in his face, "Your bipod's at the wrong angle. Your scope's off by 2 degrees. You trying to get us all killed?" Ross hung his head, flushed. Madison clenched her fists, swallowing tears of frustration. The desert air was already blistering, but now it felt heavier than molten steel. Rachel stood slowly, leaning on her mop like a staff. Sweat streaked down her dusty cheek. Her voice, soft but clear, cut through the silence. 3 wind streams. You're shooting into chaos. The range froze. Madison turned, eyes narrowing with disdain. What was that? Rachel didn't elaborate. She looked up, tracking the wind flags as if they spoke a language only she understood. Another moment of silence. Then a laugh from Marcus Webb. Good Lord, now the janitor thinks she can teach sniping? But something flickered in Harrison's eyes. A distant memory. A familiar face amidst Ramadi's smoke and fire. He blinked, but when his eyes opened, the woman had bent to pick up an old canvas bag from the corner. In that moment, the range seemed to pause. The wind, the sun, the string of missed shots. A secret was about to unravel. The gray canvas bag, stained and faded, sat unnoticed in the corner. No one at the base paid it mind except Rachel. She lifted it, movement slow, as if it weighed more than its physical mass. All eyes on the range turned to the janitor. Whispers of mockery rose, tinged with faint unease. Harrison stepped forward, his bulk blocking the path. What do you think you're doing with that bag? His voice was sharp, but his eyes locked on her movements, searching for a memory. Rachel didn't answer. She set the bag on the ground, her gloved hands untying its worn straps. Each motion was calm, practiced, as if she'd done it 1,000 times. A faint zip sounded as the old clasp opened. The canvas fell away, revealing something that stunned the snipers. A Remington 700. Its barrel was scratched. Its walnut stock faded. Its scope so basic it seemed archaic next to their high-tech systems. Morrison laughed, loud and rough. Jesus, what's that relic gonna do? It belongs in a museum. But Rachel ignored him. She knelt, carefully resting the rifle on the bag as if it were a proper stand. Her right hand trembled slightly, an old injury no young soldier could understand. But as her fingers touched the stock, the tremor stopped. Her movements became fluid, precise, almost meditative. Harrison went quiet. He saw how she cradled the rifle, her body adjusting instinctively, her breathing slowing to a steady rhythm. This wasn't a janitor's posture. This was the reflex of a seasoned sniper, a body fused with the weapon like an extension of flesh. The young snipers stirred. Tyler Ross, still naive, frowned. She's just pretending. No one can shoot in this wind. Rachel stayed silent. Her green eyes scanned the range, tracing each wind flag. A blink. Then her gaze locked on the rocks where heat rose. Mirages danced like rippling water. Every detail formed an invisible map she read by instinct. Madison Brooks crossed her arms, voice bitter. Please, this is a firing range, not Hollywood. What does a janitor know about ballistics? But Harrison didn't stop her. He saw the scar on Rachel's right wrist, a faded circle from an old bullet wound. And deep in his memory, he recalled a figure pulling him from a burning Humvee 8 years ago. Rachel lay prone, cheek against the stock, eyes through the simple scope. The desert wind howled, kicking up dust, tugging at loose strands of her brown hair. All sound faded, leaving only her steady breaths. Time stretched. The noisy range fell silent, holding its breath. No one laughed anymore. A near imperceptible motion. Her finger found the trigger. Soft, firm, like an old song returning. The shot cracked, shattering the dry air. The bullet tore through, swallowed by the 2,000-yard distance. 2.5 seconds passed. Then, a metallic ring echoed from the distant target. Clear, unmistakable, dead on. Every eye widened. Tyler's jaw dropped. Madison's arms fell, her breath catching. Morrison swallowed hard, his laugh gone. Webb lowered his head, eyes dark. Only Harrison stood rigid, his gaze frozen. He stared at the woman who'd just fired as if facing a ghost from his past. Rachel lifted her head from the scope, her hair blowing in the wind. Her green eyes held an eerie calm. She didn't smile or boast. She simply rested her hand on the stock, readying the next round. The range drowned in silence. They just witnessed the impossible. And that silence carried a question no one dared voice. Who is this woman? The metallic echo of the first shot lingered in the desert sky as Rachel chambered a second round. No one moved. The young snipers lay frozen, eyes glued to her every motion. The woman they'd dismissed as invisible just minutes ago. She worked the bolt with a slow, precise rhythm. Each mechanical click sounded like familiar music etched into muscle memory. In that moment, the range was still, as if waiting to see if the first shot was mere luck. Rachel pressed her cheek to the weathered stock, peering through the faded scope. The wind shifted. Hot air rose stronger, the flag at 1,000 yards tilting another way. To the young snipers, it was uncontrollable chaos. But to Rachel, the twisting air formed a clear pattern. She didn't watch the flags or the dust. She saw how light moved through the air, how mirages danced on the horizon. A soft pull of the trigger. The second shot tore through, racing across 2 tense seconds. Then another metallic ring, loud and certain. Another hit. A sharp exhale, from who knows whom. Tyler nearly leapt from the sand, mouth agape. Madison gripped her knee, torn between awe and wounded pride. Morrison bit his lip, no longer daring to laugh. Rachel didn't notice. She chambered a third round, hands steady as if she'd never left the battlefield. Her breathing slowed, steady as ocean waves. The wind shifted again. A small dust vortex spun across the range, scattering sand into the young sniper's electronic scopes. Webb snorted, wiping his optic in frustration, while Harrison stood still, eyes locked on Rachel. She adjusted her rifle a few degrees, almost instinctively. Her green eyes flicked across the air, finding the one path the bullet could take. Another shot, another metallic ring in the desert. 3 hits in a row. The silence that followed was heavier than the wind. No one laughed, no one whispered. The young snipers, once confident in their tech and training, now watched a simple woman do what they couldn't all morning. Rachel inhaled deeply, her shoulders rising and falling gently. The fourth shot. The sky shifted hue. A small sandstorm brewed in the west, dust swirling, blurring visibility. To anyone else, it was a signal to stop. But Rachel stayed prone, her body one with the old Remington. The trigger moved. The bullet pierced the chaotic air, threading through suspended sand, finding the right path among thousands of wrong ones. The steel rang again. 4 for 4. The last shred of doubt left the snipers' faces. Only pure awe remained. Eyes once mocking now held silent reverence, as if they'd been schooled by a teacher who never spoke. Rachel closed her eyes for a moment. When they opened, her green gaze didn't just see the steel target, it pierced through to memories of lost years. She whispered just loud enough for the wind to carry. For Brooks. For Chen. For Martinez. The fifth shot left the barrel. The sound was swallowed by the brewing sandstorm, like a distant echo. But as all held their breath, the steel rang again, clear and final. 5 for 5. The range erupted in silence. No more mockery, no more doubt. Only the truth. A woman they'd scorned had done the impossible. Harrison took a deep breath, eyes darkening, and finally spoke, voice hoarse. Walker. Her name hung in the air, sharp as a blade slicing through a veil of secrets. The team turned, confused. But Harrison remembered. He remembered clearly. And from that moment, they all knew. This story was far from over. Her name fell from Harrison's lips like a verdict. Walker. The air on the range froze. Young eyes darted to the woman with hastily tied hair, sweat-soaked gray shirt, hands still stained with cleaning solution. For a moment, she was still just a janitor. But now, everything felt different. Harrison stepped closer, his face flushed. Not from the Sunday. He squinted at Rachel's sleeve. rolled up during her shooting. A scar, round and faded, marked her wrist. A bullet wound, entry and exit. He recognized it instantly. "That's no accident," he said, voice low. "Through and through. 7.62 caliber." The young snipers shuddered. None imagined a janitor bearing the marks of a battlefield. Rachel stayed silent. She lowered the rifle, resting it on the canvas bag. Her green eyes met Harrison's, unflinching, unafraid. Her voice was soft, almost a whisper, but each word cut through the thick air. "I never abandoned anything." Harrison recoiled as if slapped. A vein pulsed at his temple. "Ramadi, 2016. 3 of my best Marines died because of you." His voice cracked with 8 years of suppressed rage. "Brooks, Chen, Martinez. My team was torn apart because you ran off to save civilians." The name Ramadi dropped like a weight. Madison stood, face pale. "My brother, Brian Brooks, died because of her?" Marcus Webb clenched his fists. Tyler Ross shook his head, disbelieving. Rachel closed her eyes briefly. Memories from 8 years ago flooded back, sharp as a blade. The whistle of mortars overhead. A shaking rooftop. The stench of gunpowder. Brooks shouting beside her. Chen signaling to move. Martinez checking coordinates. Then a civilian truck appeared, rolling slowly into the withdrawal zone. Behind it, children, their panicked eyes staring into her scope. Rachel remembered every detail. She remembered the driver's face, Abbas Rashid, a name the CIA claimed was dead 6 months prior. She knew he was alive, and she knew what was in that truck. 180 kilos of explosives hidden under wood and tarp. The order was to hold position. Protect the team. No shooting. But Rachel fired. One shot. The driver slumped over the wheel. The truck stopped, meters from the withdrawal route. 90 seconds later, mortars rained down. Someone had betrayed their position. Brooks, Chen, Martinez never had a chance. Rachel opened her eyes. They were no longer a janitor's eyes. They were the eyes of a survivor, carrying a weight no one wanted to believe. "I saw him," she said softly. "Rashid. He was alive. And he was ready to blow up your entire withdrawal route." "Lies!" Harrison roared, his voice cracking between anger and fear. "The CIA confirmed Rashid died in an airstrike. The report was clear. And it said you broke orders, abandoned your post. You got them killed." Rachel shook her head. "Reports are written for those back home. For the families. They need a story they can believe. But the truth is different. The truth is, someone in our ranks told Rashid our position." The group fell silent. Madison's fists tightened, her lips trembling. "My brother didn't die because of you?" Rachel turned to her, eyes softening. "He died because of a traitor. I was just the scapegoat to cover it up." At that moment, Master Gunnery Sergeant Phillips stepped in. His weathered face paused on the old Remington on the canvas bag. He squinted at the dark stock and basic scope. He knew it instantly. Remington Civ 100. Macmillan stock. Serial number erased. My God. The range went quiet as a graveyard. All eyes locked on Rachel. The final veil had fallen. The woman with the mop was now a ghost from classified files. "She's no janitor," Phillips said slowly, voice dry. "She was Valkyrie. CIA Black Ops. And Ramadi was just the beginning." The silence on Whiskey Jack was heavy as lead. Young eyes shifted from a furious Harrison to Rachel, then to Master Gunnery Sergeant Phillips. He broke the stillness. "Valkyrie. Unofficial Black Ops. I've seen traces of that unit in Iraq." He glanced at Rachel again, his look no longer skeptical but one of recognition. Harrison gritted his teeth, stepping closer, pointing at her. "Don't listen to her. I was there. I lost 3 men because she abandoned her post. Don't let her rewrite history." Rachel didn't flinch. Her voice remained low and steady. "You lost them, Harrison, because someone in our ranks betrayed our position. I shot Rashid because I knew he was alive. If I hadn't, your entire convoy would have been obliterated." "Lies," Harrison bellowed. "I read the official report. CIA, Marines, all agreed Rashid was dead long before. Reports are the easiest to twist." Phillips cut in, voice rough with authority. He pulled out a military phone, punching in a code. "Last night I received new orders. Some Ramadi files were just declassified." No one breathed. Phillips connected his tablet to a handheld screen. An old interface flickered, green-gray night vision. The timestamp read, the 15th of November 2016, 047. On the screen, a figure in a ghillie suit lay on a crumbling rooftop. Even in the grainy footage, it was clearly a woman. She didn't move, only focused through her scope. Below, a civilian truck rolled in, children in the back. Infrared scans showed the truck glowing white-hot. "My God," Madison whispered. "Heat signature. Explosives." Before anyone could react, a flash burst from the rifle's muzzle. The driver slumped. The truck stopped, meters from the withdrawal route. The clock jumped 90 seconds. Mortars fell like rain, pulverizing the rooftop where the figure lay. But she kept firing, covering the convoy's retreat. Only when the entire facade collapsed did she vanish under rubble. The screen went black. No one spoke. Only the wind howled through the desert. Harrison broke the silence. Voice choked. "No, it can't be. I remember you abandoning your post. I remember you disappearing." Rachel met his gaze, her green eyes cold. "You were unconscious, Harrison. 2 rounds through your shoulder. Then the Humvee exploded. I pulled you out. I lost a lung, half my right arm's function. But I dragged you through 4 blocks." Harrison stood frozen. His massive frame seemed to collapse inward. For 8 years, he'd caged himself in hatred. Now the truth hit like a sledgehammer. Madison cried out, voice trembling. "So my brother, Brian, who killed him?" Phillips narrowed his eyes, answering clearly. "A traitor. Someone in the chain of command fed Rashid our coordinates. The whole thing was buried. Walker was the scapegoat." The air on the range shattered. Tyler Ross stepped forward, eyes wet. "My father, Major Ross, was in Ramadi. He wrote the report saying you disobeyed orders. If it was false, why did he sign it?" Rachel lowered her head. "Because he was forced. Because powerful people wanted a scapegoat. And I volunteered to take the blame, so your families could have a story they could bear." Tyler staggered back, as if punched. Madison trembled, tears welling. Phillips pocketed the tablet, his voice heavy as steel. "You've just seen the truth, and that's only part of it. The traitor is still out there. But Walker..." He turned to Rachel, his gaze softening. "She never betrayed anyone. She just survived." Rachel took a deep breath, her right hand trembling from nerve damage. But in her green eyes, the old fire had returned. "You wanted the truth," she said, voice sharp as a blade. "This is just the start." The desert of Whiskey Jack sank into thick silence after the video. Young faces were still reeling, while Harrison stood rigid, his massive hands clenched white. Rachel slowly pulled down her sleeve, covering the scar. "The footage doesn't clear my name," she said, voice calm and cold. "It only proves one thing. Someone in our chain of command sold us out." Madison gripped her rifle, breathing fast. Who? Who had the power to do that and cover it up?" Before Phillips could answer, another voice cut in, weathered and sharp. "Someone who's been protecting their position for 8 years." All eyes turned to the end of the range. A corporal ran down from the observation tower, sweating, holding a military phone. "Sergeant, urgent orders from command. Whiskey Jack is locked down. All operations halted. Choppers are inbound." The team spun toward the west. Far off, 3 Blackhawks roared low over the horizon, their rotors kicking up dust storms. The air tensed like a taut string. "Jesus," Morrison muttered. Choppers aren't here for sniper drills. Minutes later, the ground shook as the first Black Hawk landed. The side door slid open. A figure stepped out, camouflage uniform pristine, 3 bright stars gleaming on his collar. "Attention!" Phillips barked, his voice like thunder. General Marcus Thompson, a legend in special operations, strode toward them. Behind him were 2 men in black suits, their movements sharp, unmistakably CIA. The air grew thick. No one dared breathe loudly. Thompson stopped a few steps from Rachel. Then, to everyone's shock, he raised his hand in a formal salute. "Captain Walker." His voice boomed, deep and weighted. "Or should I say Valkyrie?" Madison's jaw dropped. Tyler's eyes widened. Harrison bowed his head, trembling. No one could believe it. A 3-star general saluting a janitor. Rachel didn't return the salute. She nodded slightly, her green eyes wary. "I hold no rank, General. Just a cleaner." Thompson gave a faint smile, but his eyes held something heavy. "Never just anything, Rachel. Not after what you've done, what you've sacrificed." He turned to the young snipers, his voice carrying across the desert. "What you've witnessed is classified. From this moment, not a word leaves this place. Clearance level just escalated. By direct order of the President." The desert wind grew stronger, carrying swirling dust. The air thickened with the weight of revealed truth. Phillips stepped forward, asking bluntly, "General, who's the traitor?" Thompson glanced at Rachel, then scanned each face. "We've been tracking him for 8 years. A high-ranking intelligence officer. They call him the snake in the nest." No one moved. Tyler swallowed hard. "You mean in the CIA?" "Higher," Thompson replied. "Someone deemed untouchable. And he just made a mistake." He looked at Rachel. 3 days ago, he reached out, wanted to confirm if Valkyrie was still alive. He left a trace. Rachel's fists clenched, her voice low. "Crenshaw." The name hit like lightning. Even Phillips blinked, stunned. "Nathan Crenshaw, Director of the Defense Intelligence Agency?" "The very one," Thompson confirmed. "He fed Rashid the Ramadi coordinates. He thought Walker was dead. He's about to learn he was wrong." The truth slammed into the young snipers' hearts. Madison breathed hard, voice choked. "My brother died because of a man in a Washington office?" Rachel turned to her, eyes softening. "Not just your brother. Brooks, Chen, Martinez, all were the price of his betrayal." Harrison swayed, as if his last foundation crumbled. For 8 years he'd harbored hatred for the woman before him. Now the real enemy sat in the Capitol, shielded by titles and power. Thompson scanned the group. "Understand this. From this moment, you're witnesses. That makes you targets. Whiskey Jack is no longer just a training ground. It's a battlefield." A low hum grew overhead. A 4th helicopter appeared. Not military, a white civilian chopper, heading straight for them. Rachel squinted, her instincts flaring. "He's here," she whispered. The white civilian helicopter descended, its rotors whipping up red dust across the range. The team shielded their faces, sand grinding between their teeth. The door slid open. A tall man stepped out. Platinum hair, slicked back, a tailored gray suit. His polished leather shoes looked absurd on the desert sand. Behind him, 2 aides in suits, earpieces discreet. "Jesus," Madison whispered. "He actually came." Crenshaw strode toward the group, his pace leisurely. Like he owned the room, though this was no Washington office, but a dust-covered range. His cold gray eyes swept over the Marines before locking on Rachel. "Tell me," his voice rang, smooth and educated. "Who thought up this farce? Dragging me from the Capitol to point fingers at a janitor?" No one answered. The wind screamed around them, but the silence was heavier than the storm. Rachel didn't blink. She set the canvas bag down, hand resting on the old stock. "The deserter from Ramadi," she said softly. "You remember, don't you? Crenshaw froze for a split second. Then a faint smile curved his lips, not reaching his eyes. "I thought you'd left the country. Turns out you're cleaning latrines for the Marines." Harrison stepped forward, his massive frame taut. "She's no deserter. She's the reason I'm alive." Crenshaw raised an eyebrow, voice calm, touching. "But I'm here for evidence, not war stories. I want to see it." Philip stepped up, holding the tablet. "You will, and you won't deny it." He played the video. Ramadi, the glowing truck, the single shot, the mortar rain. As the screen went black, all eyes turned to Crenshaw. For a moment, his face stayed composed, but sweat beaded on his forehead, despite the cool desert wind. "It's fabricated," he said, voice steady but quick. "You know all Ramadi data was destroyed in the 2017 server fire. No evidence remains." "Pity," Thompson said, voice like a hammer. "A backup survived. And now we have it." Crenshaw forced a laugh. "If this is a smear, you'll face a court-martial. You too, Walker. I can have you arrested right here." Rachel tilted her head, her green eyes boring into him. "Arrest me? Or expose you?" She pulled a worn leather notebook from the canvas bag. Its pages were crammed with handwritten notes, symbols, and faded bank transfer photocopies. She held it out to Thompson. Communication logs. 8 years' worth. Every payment, every deal between Crenshaw and insurgent leaders. Enough to hang him 10 times over. For the first time, Crenshaw's mask cracked. He stepped back, eyes darting for an exit. You don't know what you're doing. You're tearing down a system. I did it to maintain balance, to protect America. By killing your own men?" Madison screamed, voice breaking. "My brother died because you sold our position to Rashid." Crenshaw opened his mouth, but it was too late. Thompson's CIA agents moved in, cuffing him cleanly. He struggled, voice sharp with rage. "You think you've won? I have allies everywhere. When I fall, the system shakes." Walker, his eyes locked on her, cold with hatred. "You'll never know peace." Rachel lifted the Remington, not aiming, just holding it loosely. Her eyes were still as water. "I never have. And I've learned to live with it." The agents dragged Crenshaw away, his voice fading in the wind. But the void he left was heavier than his presence. Harrison exhaled, shoulders slumping. "God. 8 years. I hated the wrong person for 8 years." Rachel looked at him, her gaze not soft but forgiving. "Anger's easier than truth. I get it." The sky darkened as the first swirls of a sandstorm approached from the west. Thompson checked his watch, then turned to Rachel. "We're out of time, and this is just the beginning." The helicopter's roar faded over the horizon, taking Crenshaw and his final threats. The desert returned to its harsh emptiness, but the air on Whiskey Jack stayed tense as the sky shifted color. A wall of yellow-brown dust stretched from the west, advancing fast. Madison looked up, eyes wide. "Sandstorm. God, it's coming right for us." Phillips checked his wind compass, face grim. "Less than 10 minutes. If we don't find cover, we'll be buried." Harrison turned to the young snipers, barking, "Pack the rifles, move!" But Rachel didn't budge. She sat on the sand, staring into the howling dust wall. Her green eyes held not fear but an uncanny focus. "Don't run," she said softly. Everyone froze, confused. Madison shouted, "Are you crazy? This storm could bury a convoy." Rachel stood slowly, picking up the Remington from the canvas bag. "This is the best time to learn. If you want to be snipers, you have to read chaos. Because the battlefield never waits for clear skies." Harrison frowned. "You're turning a storm into a classroom?" Rachel nodded. "A storm's the harshest teacher. And the most honest." The wind lashed their faces, sand stinging skin. The range flags whipped chaotically, no direction consistent. Wind gauges flashed erratic numbers, needles spinning wildly. Rachel knelt, resting the Remington on the bag. Her voice cut through the gale. Lesson 1. Ditch the tech. Trust your eyes and ears. Tech measures what it understands. Chaos, you have to feel. She closed her eyes, inhaling deeply. Her hand reached out, letting sand pelt her skin. Hear the wind. Feel its weight on your face. Not all winds are the same. Some are surface. Some are high. You have to separate them. Madison squinted, trying to focus. Tyler closed his eyes, mimicking her, his hand trembling in the sand. Rachel opened her eyes, raising the scope to the target, nearly invisible in the dust. Lesson 2. Don't look at the target. Look at the space between you and it. Bullets don't travel straight, they pass through 1,000 winds, dozens of air layers. Each has its own language. She fired. The bullet vanished into the yellow veil. Everyone held their breath. Then, a metallic ring. A hit. The wind roared harder, dust blinding, swallowing everything. But Rachel chambered another round, voice steady. Lesson 3. Breathe with the storm. Don't fight it. When it screams, you inhale. When it quiets, you exhale. Your shot's rhythm must match the chaos. Her cheek met the stock, her breath sinking with the wind. The next trigger pull sounded another distant steel ring. Madison stared, stunned. Morrison snorted but widened his eyes. Tyler trembled, as if witnessing magic. Rachel lowered the rifle, standing in the storm. Her brown hair whipped loose, her green eyes glowing through the yellow haze. Her voice carried to each of them. The battlefield doesn't care about tech or rank. It only cares if you can read it. Once you understand chaos, it goes quiet in your eyes. And then, the bullet goes where it's meant to. The storm raged harder. Phillips shouted, "Everyone to the bunker, now!" Harrison nodded but seized the moment. Listen to her. Memorize every word. This is a lesson you'll never get again. They ran to the nearby bunker, the steel door slamming shut. Outside, the sand wall swallowed the range, roaring like 1,000 wild beasts. In the cramped darkness, young eyes stayed on Rachel. Madison whispered, voice breaking, "She's not a janitor. She's—" Rachel cut her off, her gaze softening. "Just someone who's survived more storms than you. And my job is to make sure you don't pay the price I did." The wind howled through the steel slits, echoing like the screams of the past. But this time, in each soldier's heart, fear gave way to silent respect. The storm raged for 2 hours. Sand battered the thick steel walls like hail on a tin roof. In the cramped bunker, emergency lights flickered, casting shadows on tense faces. No one spoke. Only breathing and the hum of a generator filled the air. Rachel sat in a corner, back against the cold wall, the Remington across her lap. Her eyes were distant, lost in storms no one in the room had seen. General Marcus Thompson stepped from the CIA group, his broad shoulders casting a shadow. He studied Rachel, then spoke, low and firm. "Captain Walker." The air froze. The young Marines exchanged glances. They'd mocked a janitor, and now a 3-star general addressed her by a former rank, with utmost respect. Rachel didn't look up. "I don't carry that rank anymore, General." "On paper, true," Thompson replied. "But reality says otherwise. The President signed an order this morning. Full reinstatement, all benefits restored, and a choice of mission." The room exploded in silence. Harrison cursed under his breath. Madison swallowed hard. Tyler, still boyish, stared at Rachel wide-eyed. Rachel took a deep breath, then shook her head slowly. "I left that life. I found peace in simple work. Cleaning, fixing. No more gunfire." Thompson stepped closer. "Peace? You think you'll find peace in the shadows of military latrines?" "No, Rachel. Peace comes when the unfinished mission is closed. And for you, that mission isn't over." Rachel met his gaze, her green eyes flashing like a blade under the light. "What do you mean?" Thompson glanced around, then nodded to Phillips. "Lock the door. This is classified." The steel door clanged shut. Thompson lowered his voice. "3 weeks ago, our satellites caught images of a training camp in Kashmir. Among the instructors, one face matched 60% probability. Sarah Chen." Rachel froze. The name stabbed her chest. She stood, gripping the Remington unconsciously. "Impossible! I saw the building collapse on her in Mosul. Her voice broke. "I was there." "You saw a building fall," Thompson corrected, voice gentle but sharp. "No body was recovered. The area was too hot to verify." The room went silent. Harrison, who despised Rachel for 8 years, now looked at her with concern. Madison's fists clenched, face pale. Tyler whispered, "If she's alive, what does it mean?" Thompson answered, "It means a chance. Either Sarah Chen is being forced to cooperate, or worse, she's turned. Either way, only one person can get close enough to find the truth. The one who knows her better than anyone. The one she might trust, or at least hesitate to shoot." All eyes turned to Rachel. She gave a dry laugh, hoarse in the stifling room. "You want me back? After 8 years buried under a traitor's label. Now you need me." "Not need," Thompson said. "No one else can do this. You're the key." Rachel looked at her trembling right hand, wrapped in a medical stabilizer. "You think I'm still capable? You just fired 5 shots through a sandstorm no computer could calculate," Harrison said, standing by her for the first time. "If that's not capable, I don't know what is." His words shifted the room's air. Madison nodded. Tyler murmured agreement. Those who'd mocked her were now witnesses to her undeniable skill. Rachel sat back, eyes weary. "If I agree, it's not a military mission. It's personal. One forgotten soldier finding another. Nothing more, nothing less." Thompson nodded. "Name your terms. We're listening." Rachel scanned the faces. Harrison, Madison, Tyler, Marcus, Morrison. The young soldiers who'd just learned to read chaos. Then she turned to Thompson. "No black ops. No press. No false reports. If Chen's alive, I bring her back. If not, I'll know for sure. But once I'm in, I don't come back. And no one calls me captain. I'm just Rachel Walker, a gatekeeper." Thompson met her gaze, nodding solemnly. "Done." The storm outside had calmed, but in the room, a new storm was brewing. Rachel turned away, her eyes falling to the dark corner where the wall trembled with the last gusts. In the shadows she whispered, just for herself, "If you're alive, Sarah, I'll find you." The storm finally passed. Through sand-crusted glass, faint rays cut the bunker, illuminating the silent room. No one left. They waited for Rachel to speak. Master Gunnery Sergeant Phillips, the grizzled veteran who'd seen it all, broke the quiet. "Captain, or Rachel, how many more lessons do these kids need to learn? Tell them, they need more than computer numbers." Rachel looked up. Her green eyes reflected both pain and resolve. She glanced at Harrison, Marcus, Madison, Tyler, Morrison, those who'd witnessed her impossible shots. Hours ago, they'd seen her as a nameless shadow. "All right," she said softly. "But I won't teach like an officer. I'll share as a survivor. Learn if you want. Laugh if you want. I don't care." No one laughed. Rachel set the Remington 700 on the table, patting its worn stock. "You think the rifle wins battles? Wrong. It's just a tool. The real weapon is your eyes, your ears, and your patience. 3 things you don't know how to use." Madison frowned. "We use our eyes and ears every day." Rachel nodded. "You use them to see targets, hear orders. I'm talking about reading the world, seeing the spaces, hearing through chaos." She pointed to the dust-covered window. "That storm. What did you hear?" Tyler answered. "Wind. Impact sounds. Not enough." Rachel closed her eyes. 3 layers of sound. Wind whistling through steel gaps, sand hitting glass, and the steady echo of vibrating walls. 3 rhythms. If you separate them, you can predict wind shifts before the flags move. That's reading a storm. It saves lives. The room stayed quiet. Young eyes shifted, blending curiosity and respect. Rachel picked up an empty tin can from the corner, rolling it across the floor. Its clatter echoed. "How's this sound different?" Marcus answered. "Sharper, higher pitched." "Right. Because the concrete's hollow beneath. Now imagine a war-zone street. Footsteps on a roof sound different from steps on a rotten beam. An enemy thinks they're invisible, but sound betrays them. Only when you hear beyond the surface noise do you see the truth." Harrison stood, arms crossed, nodding for the first time. Rachel faced the young snipers. "You think sniping is about precision. It's about choice. Some shots you can't take. Some targets you must let pass, even when your finger begs to pull. The hardest shots are the ones you don't fire." Madison stared at the floor. The words hit her core. Rachel stepped to Tyler. The young sniper still rattled from the Ramadi video. She handed him the Remington. "What do you see?" Tyler lifted it, peering through the scope. "Old scope. Basic. No rangefinder, no HUD. Not as accurate as our optics." Rachel nodded. "But it forces you to trust yourself. Computers don't read heat mirages or feel the Earth's breath. You learn that yourself. And once you do, you never lose it." She grabbed chalk from her pocket, drawing a small circle on the wall. "Your target." Tyler aimed. Wind slipped through the window, stirring sand. His imaginary shot went wide of the circle. Rachel spoke softly. "Read again. Not the target, but the space between you and it. That's what guides the bullet. The air is the real battlefield." Tyler lowered the rifle, exhaling. His eyes sparked. He'd grasped something never taught. Phillips gave a faint smile. "You just taught more than a 3-month course at sniper school." Rachel exhaled. "This isn't a classroom. It's life. If they don't get it, they die. That's it." Silence settled. The young snipers no longer saw a janitor with a mop. They saw a survivor, her lessons carved in blood. Rachel turned away, her voice softer, almost to herself. "Everything leaves a trace. Wind, earth, sound, even betrayal. The question is whether you learn to see it." The air in the bunker grew thick. The storm outside was gone, but a new, invisible, and far more dangerous storm loomed. The distant thrum of helicopter rotors grew, urgent and heavy. Not the Marines' Blackhawks, but a civilian chopper, out of place in the desert. As it landed, dust swirled, and a man stepped out in a gray suit, his polished shoes untouched by sand. Nathan Crenshaw, director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, untouchable for 2 decades. He strode forward, confident, as if the desert were his boardroom. Thompson nodded, eyes cold. "You're late, Crenshaw." Crenshaw smirked. "In time to clean up this mess, I'd say. I hear there's a security breach. A deserter causing chaos on the range." Harrison tensed, fists clenching. Madison stepped back, glancing at Rachel. Tyler swallowed, lips trembling. Rachel stood tall, her torn gray shirt still dusty from the storm, her green eyes piercing Crenshaw's facade. "Deserter," she repeated, voice low but resonant. "That's the label you pinned on me, isn't it? To hide what you did in Ramadi." Crenshaw raised an eyebrow, his smile tight but eyes wary. "Heavy accusations, Walker. I'd be careful." "No more accusations." Thompson cut in. He took the tablet from Phillips, replaying the Ramadi footage, the rooftop, the glowing truck, the single shot, the mortar storm. As the screen darkened, all eyes fixed on Crenshaw. His face stayed calm for a moment, but sweat glistened on his brow, despite the cool wind. "It's fake," he said, voice steady but rushed. "All Ramadi data was destroyed in the 2017 server fire. No evidence exists." Phillips stepped forward. "I've served 28 years, Crenshaw. I know real footage when I see it. And I know the stench of lies. Crenshaw turned to Thompson, voice hardening. General, I demand you arrest this woman immediately. She has no authority. Her weapon's illegal. Her presence is a security threat. Rachel smiled, a smile that didn't reach her eyes. She pulled a tattered leather notebook from the canvas bag. Want evidence? This is a communication log. 8 years of calls, transfers, deals with Rashid and his men. Did you think I spent 8 years cleaning latrines without keeping records? Crenshaw froze. A bead of sweat rolled down his temple, despite the breeze from the chopper. Madison whispered to Harrison, "My God, he's actually scared of her." Crenshaw forced a laugh, voice faltering. "A ratty notebook proves nothing. It could be forged. Even if real, you're breaking the law by holding classified data. Be careful, Walker. Defying the system has a price." Rachel stepped closer, eyes like knives. "The price? I paid it long ago. My honor stripped, my team dead, my body broken. I've lived as a shadow for 8 years. What more can you take?" Her words echoed, striking everyone in the room. Crenshaw stepped back, turning to Thompson, voice urgent. "You can't trust her. A deranged ex-soldier, discharged for instability. This is a setup to bring me down." Thompson didn't blink. "What I see is a woman who risked her life to save her team, while you buried the truth to save yourself." The tension was palpable, heartbeats audible. Harrison stepped forward, voice like thunder. "Enough! For 8 years I called her a coward. I carried that hate in my heart. Now I know who really killed my brothers. Not Walker. You, Crenshaw." Madison nodded, tears streaming. "My brother, Brian Brooks, died because of your fake report. And you signed it." Crenshaw opened his mouth, but no words came. The circle of eyes around him was heavier than chains. Rachel stared into him, voice soft but resonant. "Game's over, Nathan. No more hiding." Dust lingered in the air, swirling in the faint light through the door's slits. In the bunker, all eyes bore into Nathan Crenshaw. His confident facade was gone, replaced by poorly masked tension. "You're all fools," he growled, eyes darting. "You don't understand this game. I'm not just one man. I'm a network. I protected this country in ways you'd never dare imagine." Rachel stood still, unflinching. "Protected? By selling intel to Rashid? By turning Marines into pawns? That's your protection?" Crenshaw's laugh was dry, rusted. "You think Rashid was just a terrorist? No, he was a tool. I fed him, controlled him, and in return, I got eyes inside terror networks no one else could touch. Yes, some died. Yes, some missions failed. But the bigger picture, it always demands sacrifice." Harrison lunged forward, eyes blazing. "My brothers weren't pawns in your damn picture." Thompson raised a hand, voice icy. "You've admitted it, Nathan. In front of witnesses. In front of those who won't forget." Crenshaw forced a smile, backing toward the door. "No, you don't get it. I have backing. In Washington, the Pentagon, places you'll never reach. You're all expendable pawns. One phone call, and you'll be erased from records, while I'll stand before Congress, preaching national security." Rachel lifted the Remington, her movements slow, fluid, as if done 1,000 times. The old rifle sat snug in her hands, its weight hanging over the room. "No, Nathan," she whispered. "Your game's over. I let you live for 8 years. That's enough." Philip stepped forward, voice stern. "Walker, don't. Let him live. Let justice handle it." Rachel turned, her eyes glinting not with anger, but exhaustion. "Justice? I've seen justice buried too many times, Master Guns. He'll slip away again. Not this time." The air was taut as a bowstring. Madison choked back a sob. Marcus swallowed hard. Tyler trembled, barely breathing. Crenshaw laughed, desperate. "You won't dare. Want to play hero? You'll just prove the unstable label I pinned on you." Rachel stepped forward, each boot clacked like a funeral drum. The Remington rose, aimed at Crenshaw's forehead. Time stopped. Memories flooded. Screams in Ramadi. The stench of explosives. Bones cracking as walls crushed her. Sarah Chen's face fading in the dust and fire. All condensed into one decision. Rachel inhaled deeply, finger tightening, then lowered the rifle. "No," she said softly. "Death's too easy for you. You'll live. Live to face the truth. To see the system you manipulated crush you." Thompson nodded sharply, signaling the CIA agents. They moved in, twisting Crenshaw's arms, cuffing him with cold steel. Crenshaw thrashed, shouting, "You'll regret this. I'll be back. I have names, power." The cuffs snapped shut, silencing him. Rachel turned away, rifle still in hand. The sun climbed higher, light flooding through the window, illuminating her face. No longer a forgotten ghost. No longer an invisible cleaner. She whispered, just for herself, "It's finally over." Harrison stepped closer, voice low. "No, it's just beginning. Kashmir, Chen, there's more to do." Rachel closed her eyes, breathing slowly. Yes, the war was never truly over. The dust has settled, the sun rises again. Whiskey Jack's desert returns to its usual stillness, but the souls of the soldiers do not. The truth is laid bare, the traitor is dragged away, and a woman, once forgotten by the world, rises from the ruins to face her destiny. Rachel Walker, or Valkyrie, is no longer a name erased from records. She stands as proof of resilience, that even when buried by lies, the truth will rise. But the most painful question remains unanswered. Sarah Chen, the comrade who fell, is she truly alive? And if so, in what role does she return? This story isn't just about war. It's about trust, betrayal, and the human capacity to stand after being broken. Dear viewers, what do you think? If faced with the ghosts of your past, would you run or confront them? Drop your comments, share your thoughts, and join us in awaiting the next chapter where the secrets of Kashmir will unfold.